Hi and welcome back. Um, Today we're going to do a overview of all the palettes that I used in January. Previously I had this down as Debbie's Eyes Project Pan, Enjoy Your Eyeshadows, but she's finally back, which is great. But I haven't seen her reinstate this, and even though I know Jen over at Project Beauty is doing eyes again this year, I don't feel comfortable calling it eyes, so this will just be a monthly usage. So our first group is all the ones that I used one time. So we used just this shade from Haunted Nomads Haunted Europe one time. We used this shade in the Arrow inspired palette by Adept Cosmetics one time. We used the Huda Nude Light. We used a couple of the shades in here one time. By one time I mean one look. We used several of the greens from Nomad Atlantic Way, the Ireland palette, for a collab. We only used the new Nomad Chicago Speakeasy palette once, and it was basically all 6 of the purples. We tried out the Warlock palette once and did a look with several of the colors in here. We used 2 of the shades, I believe it was this one and this one, in a collab look. I also used my first Lethal palette once, and we used this shade here. We used that taupe from ColourPop once. We used Sumerian Sunset once, and I believe it was either this one or this one. I don't remember which one I used. We used the Odin's Eye Merry Christmas palette once in January. My Terra Moon singles we used once. I want to say it was this one, but I'm not positive. We used the Unearthly Devour palette once. And we used the greens and possibly Snack. We used Dreamer once, and that was for the shade here. Going on to the ones that were used 2 times, we used ColourPop's Lock It Down twice. We used the shade Noted that has just been rolled into Panda's eyeshadows. We used the Surrender palette twice. One of them is this look here. For this one I used the dark red and the bright red. I don't remember which shades were used in the other look. And then we used Khaki Haze twice in January, and that was enough to give us our pan up here. For the ones that were used 3 times, we used, I'm not going to open it, but the Soka Glitter Gel from Lethal Cosmetics was used 3 times. That's in a project for 10 uses, I believe. This one never likes to open. We used the e.l.f. ACU palette 3 times, and they were all in this shade, which we are trying to finish for Throwback 30. And we used the missing shade that's in our Throwback 30 project 3 times, and that gave us our pan in that one. Similarly, we used the shade that's missing from my second Nomad singles, which is in Throwback 30 3 times. We used Moonspell palette 3 times, and while we did just roll in this shade for Panda's eyeshadows, and it was used once, I know one of the other looks used this one, and our third look used Queenie and I believe Sally. I'm not going to open this palette because it's got the broken shade, but we used the Dandelions, the Snow Spell 4 times, which gave us our pan that's, it's not even in here, that's in the, here's the Throwback 30 palette. So this is the one from the Snow Spell, which we just looked at. This was the one from the Lethal 2 palette. Here's the one from the Nomad 2 palette. And then when we get to the Odin's Eye palette, it's going to be that one. For the ones that we used 5 times, we used Huda Beauty Rose Quartz 5 times. 4 of those were the shade which is in Panda's eyeshadows, plus several other shades. And the 5th use was just Moon Magic. That was before, I know, because we rolled this in at the beginning. So maybe it was used for, I know I did one use where I just pulled Moon Magic, but I guess it was after it was pulled. For Panda's eyeshadows. Also 5 times is the Odin's Eye Christmas Eve palette. And all of those included this shade, which is in Panda's eyeshadows, but several other shades have also been used. And used, is this one like 5 times? No, that was not 5 times. Why is that there? I messed up. Those were not the 5s. I will pull those back. We will look at those ones again in a minute because those were not the 5s. Those were the over 5. I had these out of order. Okay, so for 5 uses, the Natasha Denona Mini Gold, we are working on this shade. I know I've also used this shade and the dark one. This was used 5 times. The Avatar Air palette had been rolled in for a No Pan Left Behind, and that took 5 looks to do. Simply Posh Citrus Punch was used 5 times. Most of those were with this one, which was in Panda's eyeshadows. And then our Odin's Eye palette was used 5 times. Again, the green that was in our Throwback 30 got a lot of uses, but I'm also wearing this one today for a look. And I know I've used this one, and I believe this one. Oh, please. Those tried to run away. Okay. So we looked at this one and I said 5 uses. These were not 5 uses. This was used 7 times. The Odin's Eye Christmas Eve, almost all using this one, was used 8 times. And our Project Level Up palette is the Adept Seahorse palette, and this has been used 13 times. Several of those uses were before it was in Project Level Up, but we have now used every shade at least once. although it's a level 2, so that's not a giveaway. That's it. That's all the palettes that I used in January. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 palettes that we used in January to get our looks. So I hope you enjoyed this, and subscribe and come back next month and we'll see what we used in February. Bye.